Stop calling yourself confused. You are not confused. You are receiving more than your mind has learned how to organize. Chosen one. The same idea keeps returning because some part of you already knows it matters. You dismiss it. It returns again. You try to move on, but the feeling follows you into quiet moments and waits for you there. There is a reason you sense the truth before others speak it. There is a reason one path keeps pulling at you, even when your logical mind cannot explain where it leads. They form a pattern, and that pattern has followed you for years. But there is another pattern too. You receive the message, then you question it. You see the possibility, then you delay the first step. You feel clear for 1 hour, but fear arrives and turns certainty into doubt. One part of you remembers. Another part demands proof. One part is ready to move, while another part has been trained to wait. You have called this inconsistency. You have called it overthinking. In your darkest moments, you may have wondered whether you imagined the whole thing. But what if that conclusion was wrong? What if your gift was never missing? What if it was divided? What if the problem was not a lack of intelligence, faith, or spiritual power, but a lack of connection between the parts of you carrying those abilities? That possibility could explain why you feel powerful in one moment and disconnected in the next. It could explain the ideas you never finished. It could explain why you recognize the right choice, then spend days talking yourself out of it. You were not empty. You were not abandoned. You were moving forward while different parts of you pulled in different directions. Before this message ends, you will understand 3 things. You will see why intuitive people can still remain stuck. You will recognize the hidden gap between inner knowing and decisive action. And you will be shown a simple way some people are using to support abilities they believed were gone. This will not ask you to become someone new. It will not demand blind faith. It will not tell you to ignore reason. The answer depends on reason and intuition, learning to work together, because your calling was never meant to be carried by only one side of you. Chosen one, place one hand over your heart. Take one slow breath. Ask yourself one honest question. How many times have I known, but refused to trust what I knew? Do not judge the answer, just notice it. The moment you see the pattern, without blame, the pattern begins to lose its power. If some part of you knows this message found you at the right moment, right, I am ready to reconnect. Let those words become a decision to stop treating inner conflict as proof that your gift was never real. Because the first separation began much earlier, before you had words for intuition, purpose, or fear. It began when the world taught you to question what once moved through you naturally. And when you remember that earlier version of yourself, years of self-blame may finally start to fall away. Before the world taught you to doubt yourself, you moved differently. You followed curiosity without asking whether it looked useful. You created without measuring the result. You imagined without apologizing. And when something captured your attention, your whole mind seemed to enter it at once. You may remember building worlds from ordinary objects. Time disappeared. Effort felt natural. You were not trying to prove intelligence. You were simply using it. Then the instructions began. Be realistic. Stop daydreaming. Choose the correct answer. Do not make mistakes. Do not trust a feeling unless you can explain it. Logic became the authority. Imagination became a distraction. Intuition became something embarrassing. Curiosity became something that needed permission. You learned how to perform what was expected, while the abilities that once moved together began operating in separate rooms. Most people were passing forward the rules that helped them survive. But survival rules can become invisible locks, and a lock does not need cruel intentions to keep a door closed. This is the childhood genius lock. It is the slow conditioning that teaches a naturally creative mind to value approval over exploration. It does not destroy your gift. It changes your access to it. That difference matters more than you may realize. You have probably said, I used to trust myself. I used to learn faster. Those words sound like a funeral for something lost. But potential and access are not the same thing. A room can remain full of light, even when the door has been closed for years. Your abilities may still be present beneath habits built through repetition. The imagination is still there. The intuitive sensitivity is still there. What changed was the ease with which these abilities could meet, cooperate, and move into action. Think of one thing you loved doing before anyone judged whether you were good at it. Do not choose what looked impressive. Choose what made time disappear. That memory is not childish nostalgia. It is evidence of how your mind felt when attention, imagination, emotion, and action were moving together. Notice what happened later. You began checking yourself. You imagined the response before taking the risk. You edited the idea before letting it breathe. And because this happened gradually, you assumed the shrinking feeling was maturity, when part of it may have been disconnection. Chosen one, this is why self-blame has never healed you. You were trying to punish yourself back into a state that pressure helped you leave. More force could not restore what force had separated. The path back requires safety, awareness, and a new kind of cooperation. For now, take one small action. Write down the activity that once made you forget time. Then write one quality it awakened in you. Freedom, focus, wonder, courage. Do not try to recreate your childhood. Simply recognize what your nervous system once knew, because the next revelation is uncomfortable. You may not have been waiting for another sign. You may have been waiting for the different parts of your mind to agree that the sign was safe to follow. And that is why even deeply intuitive people can remain stuck for years. Think about how the cycle usually begins. A feeling arrives before you can explain it. An idea appears with unusual force. A person, place, or decision suddenly becomes clear. For a few minutes, then the second voice enters, and the certainty begins to dissolve. This is why signs alone have not changed your life. A sign can awaken attention. It can confirm a direction. It can reveal what you already sense. But a sign cannot act for you, and it cannot force the different systems within you to agree. This is the sacred synchronization gap. It is the distance between what your inner world recognizes and what your whole system can organize into action. You feel the truth, but cannot hold it. You see the direction, but cannot commit. You know, but do not move. Chosen one, you may have mistaken this delay for humility. You may have believed waiting made you careful. Sometimes it did. But sometimes waiting was fear wearing a wise face, and every new sign became another reason to postpone the decision already forming within you. You probably analyzed it. You imagined judgment. You compared yourself with people who seemed more prepared. Then, the energy faded. Later, someone else acted on a similar idea, and you felt the painful recognition that you had seen it too. Each delayed action teaches your system that inner knowing is not trustworthy. Each ignored insight makes the next decision harder, because doubt becomes the habit that arrives first. But habits are not identity. A repeated pattern can feel permanent, even when it was built through small choices over time. Delay is not destiny, and the distance between recognition and action can be reduced. The first step is not making a dramatic leap. It is choosing one repeated insight and giving it one small physical form. Write the message, open the document, make the call, research the first step, give the insight 10 minutes of action before asking whether it can change your entire life. This teaches your mind that guidance is not only something to admire, it is something you can test. You do not need perfect certainty. You need enough cooperation to begin. Reason can examine the path without silencing intuition. Intuition can suggest a direction without rejecting evidence. When both are allowed to contribute, the decision becomes calmer and more complete. This is the reframe that changes everything. The guidance may not have been absent. The missing element may have been integration. You were not waiting for heaven to speak louder. You were waiting for the parts of you to stop arguing about what had already been heard. Researchers, studying how different functions of the mind cooperate, uncovered a clue that helps explain this divide. Their work did not prove every spiritual experience, and it did not turn intuition into magic. But it revealed something important about what happens when powerful abilities operate separately. That discovery leads to a question most spiritual people are never taught to ask. What if the blockage you have been trying to pray through is partly a synchronization problem you were never shown how to recognize? The answer begins with the difference between the mind you had as a child and the mind you learned to use as an adult. There is a reason this pattern has remained hidden. Most people are taught to choose between logic and intuition, as though one must defeat the other. They are told to trust facts or trust feelings. But the deeper truth is that both systems were meant to work together. A small group of researchers began exploring this exact problem. Their work focused on what happens when the two sides of the brain fail to cooperate fully. Later, a neurologist in New York helped shape a practical approach around that idea. The goal was simple: support better communication between the systems that analyze, imagine, organize, and recognize patterns. The method they developed was not designed as a spiritual ritual. It did not require hours of practice. It was built around a brief listening process, and the creators claimed it could help encourage a more coordinated mental state. The name of that process will come later. For now, sit with the question it raises. What if the spiritual blockage you have been trying to pray through is partly a synchronization problem no one ever taught you to recognize? What if you were not being ignored? What if your message was reaching you, while the systems needed to interpret and act on it were struggling to cooperate? Logic and intuition were never meant to be enemies. Logic helps you test a path. Intuition helps you notice the path before all the evidence is visible. Logic brings order. Intuition brings possibility. When they cooperate, you can move with both courage and discernment. The problem begins when one side dominates everything. Pure analysis can trap you in endless comparison. Pure impulse can send you forward without stability. But integration creates another option. You can feel the signal, examine it, and still take a grounded step. That is why more information has not always helped you. You may already know enough. The missing element may not be knowledge, but better integration. You do not need to become more gifted. You may need to access the gift more completely. Notice how this changes the story. Your hesitation is no longer proof that you are weak. Your sensitivity is no longer proof that you are unstable. Your imagination is no longer something that must be controlled. Each ability becomes useful when it is connected to the others. Chosen one, think about the area where you feel most divided. Is it clarity, purpose, money, love? Choose one word and place it in the comments. Naming the area brings the pattern into view, and what becomes visible can begin to change. You have lived this conflict in ordinary moments. You feel that a conversation is wrong, but you explain away the discomfort. You sense that an opportunity matters, but you wait until the window closes. The signal appears first. The argument follows. Then exhaustion replaces both. This does not mean every feeling is true. It means every feeling deserves honest examination before automatic rejection. A coordinated mind does not obey every impulse. It listens, evaluates, and chooses without forcing one ability to silence another. The next discovery goes deeper. It explains why a person can possess extraordinary perception and still remain unable to use it consistently. It also explains why more effort can sometimes make the divide worse. That discovery has a name. The name of this pattern is the divided gift. You have the ability, but you cannot always access it when pressure arrives. You receive insight, but cannot hold it long enough to act. Several powerful abilities live within you, while each one seems to speak a different language. This divide appears in many forms. Intuition recognizes the truth, but analysis demands impossible certainty. Vision sees a future, but execution cannot choose the first step. Sensitivity notices every emotional shift, but weak boundaries turn awareness into exhaustion. Creativity produces ideas, but inconsistency leaves them unfinished. None of these abilities is the enemy. The problem is separation. A gift becomes difficult to trust when it appears without structure. Structure becomes lifeless when it has no imagination. Sensitivity becomes painful without protection. Discipline becomes empty when it is disconnected from purpose. This is why you can look capable outside and still feel fragmented within. People see your potential. They ask why you have not done more with it. You ask the same question in private, and each unanswered year adds another layer of shame. But shame cannot reconnect what pressure helped divide. More force is not always the answer. Sometimes it places new demands on the same system already struggling to cooperate. You have tried to push harder. You have downloaded another meditation. You have repeated affirmations until the words felt empty. You have listened to tracks promising calm, focus, or manifestation. When the old pattern returned, you assumed you had failed again. You did not fail because you needed more punishment. The method may not have addressed the mechanism beneath the pattern. A divided system can turn even a helpful practice into another task, because one part agrees while another quietly resists. Ask a different question now. Stop asking, "How much harder must I try?" Ask, "Which part of me has not agreed to move?" Maybe the visionary part sees the destination, while the protective part fears exposure. Maybe intuition says yes, while memory remembers every time trust ended in pain. This question creates compassion without creating excuses. You can honor the protective part and still take a step. Cooperation begins when every part is heard, but no single part is allowed to become your whole identity. Chosen one, the gift is not only your intuition, it is the entire system working together. It is the ability to sense, evaluate, decide, and continue. It is imagination with direction, and discipline with meaning. This is why an ordinary audio track may not be enough. Relaxation can help, but relaxation alone does not explain the divide. Pleasant sound can soothe you, but soothing is not the same as coordinated activation. The approach mentioned earlier is presented differently by its creators because it was designed around synchronization between the two hemispheres. That claim still deserves careful examination. You should not surrender judgment because something sounds scientific. Before that reveal, imagine one change. What if your insight did not disappear when fear arrived? What if your creativity could meet consistency, and your sensitivity could stand beside clear boundaries? You would not become someone else. You would become more available to yourself. The real question is no longer whether you have a gift. The evidence has been appearing for years. The question is what becomes possible when the systems carrying that gift stop competing for control and begin moving toward the same purpose. What could change if the two sides of your mind began cooperating more fully? Not everything would transform overnight. You would still need rest, skill, honest choices, and consistent action. But the inner process behind those choices could become calmer, clearer, and easier to trust. You might notice patterns sooner. You might organize ideas without crushing their originality. You might stay present when a difficult choice appears, instead of escaping into endless analysis. Intuition could offer direction, while reason helps you test the path. Imagine waking tomorrow with one decision finally clear, but the argument inside you is quieter, and the next step no longer feels hidden beneath 10 competing possibilities. You open the document, you send the message, you finish the task that has followed you for weeks. Nothing dramatic happens in the room, yet something important has changed. Insight has become action. The distance between knowing and doing has begun to close. Now, Imagine a difficult conversation. You can feel what is happening beneath the words, but you do not lose yourself inside the emotions of another person. You stay sensitive and grounded. You speak clearly, because intuition and structure are serving the same purpose. This is what whole brain cooperation could support. It is not a guarantee of wealth, genius, or perfect decisions. It is a more coordinated state in which pattern recognition, imagination, organization, and judgment may work with less internal conflict. You may still be skeptical. Good. Skepticism can protect you from empty promises. Perhaps you wonder whether this is only spiritual language wrapped around an ordinary sound, or whether any result would come from expectation alone. Those questions deserve respect. No listening tool can replace medical care, healthy sleep, learned skill, or personal responsibility. At most, it can support a state in which you may access and coordinate your existing abilities more effectively. That distinction matters. The tool does not do your living for you. It may help prepare the ground, but you still plant, tend, and act. Chosen one, you have now reached the final part of this discovery. The missing piece is not another prophecy. It is not another command to believe harder. It is a possible way to help insight and action meet within the same experience. Let us close the mental loop before the reveal. You do not appear to lack a gift. The pattern suggests that your abilities may have become divided. That division creates hesitation, inconsistency, and self-doubt. Integration is the next logical step. This is why the earlier research matters. It points toward the importance of cooperation between different functions of the brain. And this is why the neurologist from New York matters. His work became part of a short audio process designed around that specific goal. The product itself matters only because you now understand the problem it claims to address. Without that understanding, it would sound like another track among thousands. With it, you can examine the offer with clear eyes, realistic expectations, and your own judgment intact. In the next part, you will hear the name, the method, the daily protocol, and the evidence presented by its creators. You will also hear what it does not promise. Then you can decide whether this 8-minute approach belongs in your own process. Dr. Roger Sperry studied what happens when the two hemispheres of the human brain operate apart. His split brain research earned the Nobel Prize in 1981. That prize did not prove any modern audio product, but it established that the two sides of the brain contribute different strengths, and cooperation between them matters. The creators behind this method point to that foundation. They say nearly 98% of young children display qualities associated with creative genius, while fewer than 1 in 1,000 adults retain the same level of coordination. They are not a promise about your result. Before you hear the name, consider two experiences shared on the official page. A nurse from San Diego described caring for others while feeling mentally drained herself. After using the sequence, she reported feeling calmer and more able to direct her attention. Her experience is personal, and results can differ. A business owner from Houston described a different struggle. He had ideas, but too many competed for his focus. He reported becoming clearer about priorities after listening consistently. That does not guarantee the same outcome for everyone. It shows the kind of change some users say they noticed. The tool is called the Genius Switch. It is a digital audio track presented by Doctor Daniel Barone, a neurologist in New York City. Its creators call the core method neural sync technology. They designed it to support whole brain activation, which they describe as improved synchronization between the left and right hemispheres. The daily process is simple. Put on headphones, close your eyes, relax your body. Listen for 8 minutes. You do not need a long meditation session. You do not need to repeat a mantra. If you miss a day, simply return the next day. The company says the sequence works beneath conscious effort. That does not mean it controls your mind or replaces your choices. It means the process is designed to require little active work, while you remain responsible for every action that follows. This is not presented as a meditation app. It is not presented as an ordinary soundtrack with an impressive label. The company positions it as a targeted auditory sequence built around hemisphere synchronization. That distinction matters for people who have tried other methods without meaningful change. Clinical neurofeedback can be expensive. The product page compares this option with sessions around $300 per hour and home equipment reaching $7,000. This audio is not the same as clinical treatment. The comparison only explains why the company describes it as more accessible. This is not for everyone. It is for the chosen one who is tired of collecting signs without turning them into decisions. It is for the person who wants to explore a practical way to help existing abilities work together. The page says colleagues once described the method as having a value near $500. The listed price is $49. The current offer shown on the official page is $39. That includes lifetime access, digital delivery by email, and no shipping fee. The page warns that the price may increase, but no false deadline is needed. 4 bonuses are included according to the offer. The first is a guided visualization covering money, love, health, and happiness. The second is a smart grocery shopping guide focused on brain fog and food costs. The third is a classic manifestation book about financial attraction. The fourth is a 5 habits infographic for daily use. The offer also includes a 100% money-back guarantee under the terms shown on the official page. The company says you may request a refund even after listening many times. Read the current checkout terms for yourself, because a clear decision is stronger than an impulsive one. $39 is still real money. You should never spend it from fear, shame, or pressure. The value question is whether lifetime access, the bonuses, and the refund policy make the experiment reasonable for your situation. The official page says the authentic sequence is only available through its website. Tracks with similar names elsewhere may not contain the same technology. Verify the source before deciding. The link is in the description and the pinned comment. Read the page carefully, review the terms, then decide with your own judgment intact. The tool is not your destiny. It is one possible support for the reconnection you now understand. The decision before you is not really about an audio track. It is about what you now believe concerning yourself. For years, you may have interpreted hesitation as evidence that something was missing inside you, but the pattern points toward a different conclusion. You were not broken. You were divided. Your insight could arrive without confidence. Your imagination could awaken without structure. Your sensitivity could notice everything, while your protective habits refused to move. That inner conflict created delay, but delay never proved that your calling was false. Chosen one. Many people reach this point and ask a painful question: what if I was never chosen at all? They look at unfinished plans, missed opportunities, and years of doubt. Then they treat external delay as a final judgment on internal potential. But a seed beneath the soil is not imaginary because it has not broken the surface. A message is not false because the receiver struggles to hold it. And a gift is not absent because the systems carrying it have not yet learned to cooperate. This does not mean every dream will happen. It does not mean every instinct is correct. It means your history deserves a fairer interpretation. You can examine evidence without attacking yourself. You can admit where fear delayed you, while refusing to turn that delay into your identity. Imagine completing one thing you already know matters. Not a grand destiny in one night. One honest message. One finished page. One boundary spoken with calm. One decision held long enough to discover whether it can support the life you want. That is how reconnection becomes visible. It appears through small moments when knowing and doing finally meet. You feel the old fear, but you do not automatically obey it. You hear the cautious voice, but you allow courage to speak in the same room. The guarantee described earlier limits the financial risk of testing the tool, but it cannot make the decision for you. Your responsibility is to read the terms, respect your circumstances, and choose without pressure. A clear no is better than a fearful yes. A grounded yes is better than an impulsive purchase. The deeper choice remains available either way. You can stop using self-blame as motivation. You can stop demanding perfect certainty before every step. You can begin asking what each part of you needs and still choose a direction that serves the whole. For the chosen one who felt something stir when the 8-minute tool was described, the door remains open in the description and pinned comment. Read the official information and make your own decision. What follows belongs to something deeper. The separation began through repeated messages about who you were allowed to be. Reconnection begins through a new declaration, repeated with enough honesty that your mind, body, and spirit can finally hear it together. You do not need to prove that you are extraordinary. You need to become available to the wisdom already asking for your participation. The final step is not louder effort. It is permission for your gifts to return to one purpose. Chosen one, let your shoulders soften. Take one slow breath and allow the next words to arrive without force. You do not have to chase a new version of yourself tonight. Stop rejecting the parts that are ready to return. You were never empty. You were never abandoned. Reason learned to distrust intuition. Imagination learned to fear judgment. Sensitivity learned to hide, while discipline learned to move without joy. Now, give them permission to serve one purpose. Your reason can protect the vision. Your intuition can reveal direction without refusing evidence. Your creativity can open the door. Your discipline can help you walk through it. Say these words quietly or speak them aloud. I do not reject what I know simply because fear speaks after it. I do not confuse hesitation with humility. My reason and intuition are not enemies. My creativity and discipline can serve the same calling. I am not waiting to become worthy of my gift. I am learning to carry it as a whole. Let that truth settle. You are choosing cooperation, not perfection. You are letting every honest part contribute without giving fear the final decision. May clarity meet you where confusion once lived. May courage rise when the next true step appears. May peace keep you from forcing outcomes before their season. May your deepest knowing become grounded enough to shape your choices. Remember what this message revealed. The discovery was never only a tool. The deeper revelation was that your gift had not vanished. It had become divided. Reconnection begins when you stop asking one part of yourself to silence the others. You can begin tonight. Choose one insight that keeps returning. Give it one small action. Let reason examine it. Let intuition inform it. Let courage move it forward. Observe what changes when your inner world stops pulling apart. The angels are not stunned because you failed. They are stunned because you carried so much while believing you had little. The calling remained. The deeper self kept waiting for your attention. Right, my gifts are returning to one purpose. Let the words mark a new agreement within you. Share this message with someone who cannot yet see their own potential. Chosen one, you do not need another identity. You need wisdom, courage, sensitivity, and action moving together. Walk forward slowly. Walk forward honestly. Walk forward as a whole person. The next sign does not need to be louder. You are becoming more able to receive it. The next decision needs no perfect certainty. It needs enough truth and courage for one grounded step. Your gift is not far away. It is here, learning to move without division. And from this moment forward, may everything within you return to one sacred purpose.